Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to write my real name down. Oh, first of all, who's 5? Who's 6? 7? 8? 9? 10? 25? Good. So you guys can read and write? Okay, I'm going to write my real name down, okay? It's not really Mr. Nick. Oops. Hang on. Let's see if I have a fresher one, because you guys have to be able to read this, right? Yeah, that's better. Now this is my whole first name. It's pronounced Gijsbert. This is my last name. Van. Look at that. There it is. Gijsbert van Frankenhuyzen. You think that's funny? Pardon me? Ja, ik spreek Nederlands. U ook?
Nee, ik spreek Vlaams.
Vlaams, that's close enough. Yes. So, here I am. I came to America from the Netherlands, and the first thing that my boss told me that he couldn't read my name, he couldn't spell it, so I needed a new name. Oh boy. I have to get some fresher pens. I have them in my bag. Oh, it's right here. Don't worry. Hang on. We want to make a good dark line here, don't we? Here we go. My real name, well, no. Yeah, it is kind of my real name now, but it's Nick. Much better, right? This is 26 letters, guys. 26 letters. This is only 4. Now, I never wrote this name when I was in school because, well, first of all, I shouldn't say this, but I didn't like school. I wanted to draw. I took those 2 letters off my name. I thought my name was long enough. Then I found out that I was the only kid in the whole school with this first name. It's not a very common name in the Netherlands. There's lots of kids called Gijs or Bert, but I had both of them, Gijsbert. So I wrote only on my first name on my paper for school. And the teacher knew that it was me. I was the only kid in the whole school with that name. Same in 2nd grade. Same in 3rd grade. I would just write Gijsbert. And all of a sudden the teacher comes by my table and she goes, "Come on, put your last name down. You have a last name, right?" I said, "Yeah." I had never written my last name. And I was in 3rd grade. And I started writing it. And it didn't fit on the paper, and I had to go all the way around the corner, and I came to this part in my name, and I did not know how to spell my name. Pretty bad, huh? 3rd grade. But I learned. I didn't like that name. I like Nick. Oh, it's short for nickname. Did I forget this? Yeah. I said, "How did you end up with Nick?" He said, "Short for nickname." I said, "I like it." Now, I have been drawing since I was 5 years old. I probably was drawing before that because my grandmother bought me a big box of crayons, and why would she buy me crayons if I wasn't drawing, right? So I take 2 handfuls, not one, and color pictures in my coloring book. No, I took 2 handfuls, and they were the big fat ones. And I went right to the wall, and I made a drawing all the way from the living room to the kitchen. And I thought it looked really good. And then my dad came home from work. He was not happy. "Who did that?" I said, "I did that." He said, "You don't draw on the wall." I said, "Sorry, Dad." Now, remember, no, you don't know this, but I'll tell you. I had 4 sisters and 3 more brothers. There was 8 kids in our family. The only time we got a present when it was your birthday or Christmas, 2 times a year. The next day, my dad comes up to me and he says, "Here," and he gives me a present. It's a sketchbook. I got in trouble and I got a present. Pretty good, huh? Yeah, I thought so. So I start drawing in my sketchbook. He said, "No more drawing on the wall. You want to draw, do it in the sketchbook." Well, a week later, my sketchbook is full. What am I going to do now? Go back to drawing on the wall? And he said, no, you give it back to me and I'll buy you a new one. And I thought, you gotta be kidding. Every week I can have a present? Now remember, I had 4 sisters. Yeah? And boys, brothers and sisters always kind of fight, right? And I was the one with a present and they didn't get one. And I loved that. So I would take my new sketchbook and go to my sisters and rub it in their face and go, la, 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 la. And then I draw again. Oh, he does that too? I know. So I fill my sketchbook up again, and guess what? My dad buys me another one. And by the end of the year, I had a stack of sketchbooks that high. Now when you do something over and over and over, what happens? You get better at it, right? My drawings were not any better than any other kid. The only difference was that I would do something over and over and over to get it right. And other kids didn't care. I found my old sketchbooks. This is what I found. Pretty good, huh? No? I thought so. You know what this is? Well, my sisters, this is a portrait of one of my sisters. They weren't very happy about it. On the same page though, I had done the same, or this thing, watch this. I had traced my hand. By the way, I looked in the back of the sketchbook. I was between 5 and 6 years old when I did this. Because my dad always put the date in the sketchbook. You guys have to do that too, because you know how old you are now, but if you look at your drawing that you do now, you look at it 5 years from now, you don't remember if you were 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. Put the dates in. But I had traced my hand here. You know why? When I came out of school, there's this in my sketchbook, kindergarten, and I looked at that, I said, that's not a hand, that's a rake. Now everybody, or a comb, everybody drew like this. My sisters, my brothers, my friends, and they were happy with it. I was not. I said, I want to draw a hand. But have you ever tried drawing a hand?
Yeah.
It's not easy, is it? It is?
Yeah.
I thought it was hard. I still think it's hard, but see what I do now when I have to draw hands? I hide them. But you can't always hide them. I can draw them, but it's hard for me. So I traced my hand. Well, then I noticed something. Look at this, guys, because this is useless, right? I can't just stick a hand on there. It's too big, it doesn't fit. But I noticed something. What is that? What is it? What's the shape? A circle. Now the next 10, 15 pages in that sketchbook, I drew nothing but hands. And I didn't do it like that anymore, but I did it like this. I would make a circle first. I would put a little sausage on there, a big one, another one, another one, another one, and a wrist. And what did I just draw? Don't you think that looks much better than that rake? Yeah. And here I am, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and I made all my drawings with 3 shapes. We know that the circle is one of them, right? What's another simple shape? Square. Triangle. There we go. Now look at this. There's 3. Yeah, everybody found a piece of paper? Okay, so here is my 3 shapes. Now I already heard somebody say rectangle, but if you can make a square, can you make a rectangle? Pretty much the same thing, right? If you can make a circle, can you make an oval? What is this? Then tell me what this is. Still a triangle. Do they look the same? No. If you can do that one, can you do that one? Yeah. So really, look at it, guys. If you're 6 years old and you have to learn how to read and write, how many letters do you have to learn? 26. 26. How many shapes do you see if you want to draw? Drawing is much easier. You can draw anything. If you know how to make those 3 shapes, you can draw anything. All things are made of those shapes. The trick is learning to see where the shapes are. You guys believe me? No? Okay, let me show you. We won't draw this because we're going to draw something better than this. But I'll show you that I'm telling the truth. Oops, pretty crooked. There's a square, right? Now watch what happens to the square when I put another shape with it. Now it's a house. Now how do you get into the house? What shape is that? Rectangle. Could there be a little window in the door? Square. Could there be a doorknob? Circle. Now windows could even be circles. Windows could be rectangles, circles, squares. I like to put the plus sign in, makes a more interesting window. What's the shape of the chimney? Rectangle. Now I see a lot of kids that do this with the chimney. Is that correct? No, that's going to fall off. You want the chimney to go like this, right? Straight up. And you can make them really big. And then you can make smoke come out. Those are all parts of a circle. You can make a tree or a cloud. That's all parts of a circle. A tree, all parts of a circle. What's the shape of the trunk? Rectangle. And if you make a little curvy line on your rectangle, you have a strong tree. What can you put in the tree? No. No. Doorknobs. Doorknobs. See? Same shape. Well, if I put that shape in the tree, you know that it's an no. You know that it's an apple. If I put it on the door, you know it's a doorknob. What happens if I put it here? No, think about it. No, it's a hole for a squirrel or an owl or a raccoon, right? What is it now? It's an apple again. It fell out of the tree. But here, look at this, guys. We drew all that with just those shapes. See? Believe me now? But then I turned 9. And I said, I'm not doing that anymore. That's for little kids. Using shapes is for little kids. I'm a big guy now. I can draw. So I am not going to use my shapes anymore. Well, this is what happened. In school, my friends would always give me a piece of paper and say, draw something for me, because they thought they couldn't draw. And I loved to draw, so I said, sure, what do you want? And my friend would think about it and he'd say, flying bird. So, okay. Now remember, I think I'm a big guy. I'm not using my shapes, right? This is what happened. I draw the head of the bird, the beak, the body. Oops. I want to put his wing on there. Another oops. And I'd say, my bird didn't fit on the paper. Has that ever happened to you? Who has that happened to? Almost everybody. That's a bad feeling, isn't it? It doesn't fit on the paper. It happened to me so many times that I did not even draw anymore. I broke my pencils in half. I ripped my sketchbook apart. I said, I'm not going to draw anymore. I can't draw anymore. And then I come home from school and we didn't have this. We didn't even have TV. I know. Sad, huh? No, forget the man. No, I'm just kidding. Well, anyway, I said, finally I said, how come I could draw when I was 8 years old, and now that I'm 9 years old, I can't draw anymore? Why can't I draw anymore? What did I do wrong here? I didn't use the shapes. And when I went back to the shapes, and you guys should practice this, take your paper sideways like this. Oh, and I only have one rule, guys. You can't use this.
Why are they there?
Well, those are not my pencils. If you would have gotten my pencils, I took them off. But you know what happens? If you're going to make a shape and you think it's a little too wrong or a little too big or whatever, you're going to sit there and erase. How long is that going to take? We're never going to get the drawing done. What I want you to do if we make a shape, you use your finger first and you say, okay, we're going to make an oval, and he did it over there, and I'm going to do it on my paper. Well, oh, that's way too big. Oh, that's way too small. Hey, that's about the right size. If you do it with your finger first and then with your pencil real light like this, and you say, that's not right, you do it again right over there. Still not right. Do it again. That's the right one. Make the right one a little darker. Later on at home, you take a good eraser and you can take the other lines away. Otherwise, we can't get the drawing done. So can you do that? Can you forget about that thing? Yeah? I know you can't. You're honest. Okay, you have to help me with this. We're going to do a flying bird. Everybody is, okay? So get your pencil, but you have to answer the questions. What is the shape of the body of a bird? Yeah, and if you stretch that out a little bit, it becomes an oval. Look where I put it. Where is it? Is it in the middle? How much space is around it? A lot. So make it where I draw it, kind of. And remember, guys, if it doesn't go the first time, that's okay. You just have to practice for some things, right? Now, if this bird is going to be a goose, does he have a long neck or a short neck?
Long.
Right. And what is that shape like? A rectangle. Now you can make a real stiff rectangle, or you can say I come down from the top, I go to the front, and I come up from the bottom. You make a nicer rectangle. Can you do that? Go ahead, put a neck on there. Yeah? What's the shape of his head? No, think a circle. Is it as big as his body? Way smaller. What's the shape of his beak? Triangle. Did you notice something? All those shapes are coming up again. Okay, now watch this. Don't do it yet, but watch me do this. Here's the body. I have to put a flying wing on there, like that. Now that might be very hard to do, right? I've done this a couple times, but if I had to look for the shapes, this is what you have to do. Oh, it's a hard shape. Well, how many shapes do you see? Well, there's one here, a rectangle, and there's one here, a triangle. Two shapes put together. So I'm going to put the rectangles on. I'm going to even bend them backwards a little bit. Watch. Makes it look like he's flying faster. Put a rectangle on like that. And then I do the same thing on the bottom. Two rectangles. Now I'm going to put a triangle on top of the rectangle. I take this point here, go backwards, and I take that point and go to that point. Right there. Put the triangle on the rectangle. And then you put the feathers in. And then you can round the corners off a little bit, make it a nicer looking wing. Now sometimes I hear kids say, it looks like a plane. Well, when they made a plane, when people made a plane, what animal did they look at? Elephants? Birds. Right. And then you can put a tail on them, and that can be just a little triangle there. And then, watch this, you make his neck black, you make his head black, but you leave a big white patch on his cheek, and you have yourself a flying goose. Now, which one is better, A or B? B. Why? His eye is right in the black part, and it's a black eye, and you don't even see it. But you can draw it in if you want. It would be right about there. But remember, he has a big white cheek. If you really want to look at the goose, his head is black, but this whole side part is white. And if you leave that white in your picture, then people know, oh, that's a Canada goose. Yeah.
Can we make the beak open?
You can make the beak open. Sure. Do you know how to do it? Here, watch. Here's a head. Now this would be a chicken. Look what I'm going to do to the chicken. I'm going to put a beak on the chicken, right? Now if you want the chicken to talk, you draw another beak on there. See, now he's talking. It just opens up. Yeah.
And you can add like 3 lines, and like that is like that. No, 3 lines.
Like that.
No, 3 lines at the end of the like if they were going out, like they were.
Did you do it?
No, I'm going to do.
Okay, show me. There you go. That's open. Yeah. Oh, like that. Yeah, now he's honking. I see what you mean. He does this behind. See, now the duck is really talking. See how it's good to use shapes? Did everybody get a goose done? Now you can also make a flying bird like this, right? Is that wrong? No, it's this. It is a flying bird, but they're just much farther away. So you can put them in the background. It's nice to put little things in the background and big things in the foreground in your picture. So is that enough practice? Because I want to draw another drawing now. Can we? Everybody got this? Nobody's crying yet? You're hanging them on the wall? All right, now the next one we're going to draw is Jackson the owl. True story. This bird lived with us for 13 years. Robin wrote the story. No, Robin wrote the story, and she's written several books about our farm, Hazel Ridge, all about animal stories, animals we took care of. And the reason we took care of those animals, I wanted those animals because I worked for a magazine. I wasn't working on books when we did this. I was working on this magazine. And I was always taking pictures and painting animals, but those are all animals that did not live in the Netherlands. I had to learn new animals. And the best way to do that was to get baby animals and see them grow up. We got animals that broke legs, that broke wings, and Robin is an animal doctor, she could fix all that. And then I could paint them, and even if they died, I stuck them in the freezer. It's still a good model, or in the soup. Yeah. That happened after she defrosted a woodchuck for dinner? Yeah, bad. I know. But that's how we ended up with Jackson. Jackson was supposed to go back into the wild after a year when we taught him, this is a mouse, you have to catch it, you have to eat it. And once he knew how to do that, we let him go. We do that with all our animals. We never kept them as pets. But Jackson came back home. He thought it was much easier if I fed him. And he did. He did feed me. I have to show you that real quick here. And Robin already told you that you can see him on YouTube.
Some of you didn't hear it, but if you go to YouTube, just plain old YouTube, and type in
Adopted by an owl.
you'll see the real Jackson coming in our bedroom, flying around.
This is actually on the video. He's knocking. The first time this happened, we're sleeping, and we hear this. So I wake Robin up. I said, somebody's at the balcony door. Go see who it is. And she goes, no, you do it. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And then we hear, I said, oh, it's the owl. I turn the light on, open the door, and he walks right in the room, and he stuffs this dead mouse in my hand. And I looked at it, and I said, I don't want that. And I threw it back outside, and he looked at me like, what did you just do? And he flew right after. He picked it back up, and he brought it back. And from then on, I knew, he gives me a present. I better take it. So I put it in the freezer or refrigerator downstairs in a plastic baggie and fed it back to him the next day. Well, that's all on YouTube, on the video, and you can see him. It's really fun. Want to draw him?
Yeah.
I want to make it real easy, okay? Same thing, all simple shapes. Now the first thing we're going to draw is the branch that he sits on. What shape would that be?
Rectangle. I mean,
A rectangle. Now if I want to make him as big as I can on my picture, oh, by the way, we're going to do the owl this way. On the paper, okay? You hold your paper this way. Sometimes kids call them hot dog or hamburger. I don't know which is which, hamburger, hot dog.
I mean hot dog hamburger.
Hamburgers like this? You know there's other words?
No.
This is called vertical and
Horizontal.
much better than hamburger and hot dog.
This is hamburger and this is hot dog.
Well, okay, if this is hot dog, then we want it hot dog. Okay? That's how we...
Say it in Spanish. Hamburguesa, perrito caliente.
I can say it in Dutch.
You say it. Say it in Dutch.
Oh, now I gotta think about it. Hamburger and hot dog? Oh, hamburger is hamburger. Hot dog. I forgot. What is hot dog in Dutch? No.
It's basically the same. Worstenbrood, but worstenbrood is worse than the broad.
Yeah, worstenbrood. Thank you. I've been here too long. You're better than me. You speak two languages. I speak too poorly.
I'm from Spain.
You're from Spain?
Yeah.
I've been in Spain. Oh, but we're here for drawing. Okay, so the stick is a, what was it again? A rectangle, right? Yeah, and if I want to make the biggest owl that I can on this piece of paper, would it be a good idea to put my stick here? No, because I could not draw a big owl. But if I put it way down in the bottom, would that be a good idea? No. I can't hang his tail under there. So this right here would be a really good way or place to put your rectangle. And it's nothing but two lines, guys. One line, and they don't have to be straight. Two. Now remember, this is the simplest form possible. You can make that branch look much nicer later on by putting side branches on there, leaves, bark, whatever you want. But for now, just the big shapes to see if we can get it all on the paper, okay? What is the very easy shape of a great horned owl? Simple shape of his body. What is the shape? A ball? A circle? An oval, right. Now he could be very round and chubby. If it was really cold, he puffed out all his feathers and he became kind of round. If he wanted to be by himself, which happened a lot, and he didn't want to talk to me, he would sit in the tree right next to the trunk and he'd make himself really skinny and closed his eyes and you could not find him. He looked just like a piece of bark. But then he would be real skinny. But if he was normal, he would just be an oval. And it starts on the branch, okay, and it goes up and it comes back down. Now leave some room here, leave some room here, leave some room here, okay? Everybody got it?
I don't got more space.
That's fine, that's okay, you're good. There's room.
How would you make it if it was skinny?
You do the same thing, but you make a skinny oval. A long skinny oval. Or you make a rectangle first and then you round the corners off. Then you get a real skinny oval. Wow. Now what is this shape?
Triangle.
Triangle, right. Now sometimes you see a triangle real good because it really is a triangle. But if you see this and you learn to see that as a triangle, learn to see it as triangles, squares, circles. It makes drawing so easy. And this is where I'm going to put this triangle. Watch. Yeah? Everybody okay? What's the shape of the eye? Circles, big circles. One over here and one over here. And then put his eyeballs in there. If I draw or paint an animal or a person, I paint the eyes first. If the eyes go good, the rest of the picture is really easy. Yeah.
Mine looks like a weird angry owl.
Don't worry about it. It is going to be a good owl. Yours is probably going to look nicer than mine. I'm standing here drawing everything sideways, and my owls are always pretty crooked. Now, who knows what this is? No, what are those on the owl? Well, he doesn't really have horns. They call him great horned owl because when you look at him in a silhouette, it really looks like horns. They are feathers. They're not his ears. Where are your ears? Right here, same as the owl. One is over here, the other one is over there. But the owl doesn't have this thing. And when you take that off, what's left over? A hole in your head. His hole, with yours, a Q-tip will fit in there, right? Well, on the owl, who was about that big, the hole is that big. And I never seen it, and I never thought about it. I knew there was holes there, openings, but I never thought about it. And he'd sit right next to me on the balcony. He would never let me pick him up. He hated that. But if I wanted him to take him somewhere, I would just hold my hand here, and if he stepped on it, then I could take him wherever he wanted to go, but it was his choice. But he loved it when I scratched his head, just like the cat and the dog. If he could purr, he would purr. And I sit there scratching his head, and I all of a sudden feel that hole, and I went like this. Whoa, what happened to you? Oh, he must have been hit by a car or so. Wait a minute. Oh, it's his ear opening. They can hear so good too. One day, we're always sitting on the balcony, and I was talking to him. I thought I was. Like that. I never knew what we were talking about. I don't know if he ever did, but anyway, he's falling asleep. He's going. And all of a sudden, his eyes go wide open, and he starts doing that. And when they do that, that means that they hear or see something that they want to go catch, and they only get one chance. And I look down the balcony. He's looking down the balcony and doing that. I thought, oh, you had a bad dream. There's nothing down there. I was wide awake. I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything. He gets off the balcony, in the leaves down there, comes back up with a big fat mouse in his claws. He heard that while he was falling asleep, not with those things. Those are just feathers. They're decorations. Watch, start at the top and make little triangles. Back to the owl's head. Same on this side. And now you have what they call ear tufts. Now the claws. Now on the claws, look, this is the branch, and the claws, he has 4 claws. He can put 2 in the front or 3 in the front. He has 1 toe that can go either way. But it might be hard to draw, right? Well, if that happens, just look at it and say, I'm going to make that simple. Here it is. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. You cannot make that claw any simpler, and anybody that's going to look at this drawing is not going to ask you what that is. They know those are his claws, and every time you draw it, you make it a little nicer. Everybody good? Okay, now hang on. One more thing with the tail. That's the next thing we're going to draw. The tail goes from here, under the bird, back up to the bird, but don't draw it yet. There's a problem here. Imagine if my arm is this branch, and my pen is the bird's tail. Look. Where is it? You can't see it. There's a rule in drawing. If you can't see it, you don't have to draw it. But it's not like this. It's like this. What do you see now? What happened to the middle? You know where it is, right? You can't see it. Well, here's the top. Watch. Come to the branch. I can't see it, so you think where that line is going to go. Oop, there it is. Draw this part. Stop your pen again. Think about it. Oh, there's the second part. If you draw that line over the branch, that means the tail is in front of the branch. And you could see him like that. Let me make a little drawing right here. Sometimes I would see the owl sitting in the woods like this. What does that mean? What am I looking at? It's his back. He's looking that way. Now, if I call him, I see him in the tree like that, and I go, if my friend was sitting in the tree, he would have to hop around to see me, because his head only turns this far. Your head too, right? His head can go from here to here without turning his body. So in a second, this picture would look like this. That's the front of the owl, that's the back of the owl. And now the tail is on this side of the branch. But we're not drawing this, we're drawing the front. So then you have to do this. Did everybody get it? Yeah? Now the wings. Too hard, let's just forget the wings. No? Okay, we'll give him wings then. Did you leave enough room? I hope. Look at this. This is what you can use to make a wing. First of all, oops, too big, goes off the paper, but if I back it up, it fits. Now, if I trace my hand, he'll look like a great horned owl with two hands growing out of him. I don't want to do that. I want to turn my hand into a wing. Okay, watch. I set my pen right on this line, and when I go around my fingers, I put a point there. And I do it again, and again, and again. Now I know how to do it, and I can do 2 or 3 or 4 more, and I made a wing. Now you try it.
Nick can't move his paper, but you can move your...
Yeah, you can move the paper on. And if you don't have a lot of room, even 3 or 4 fingers will make a wing. And if your edge of your paper is right here because your owl is so big, that means his belly is really big too, right? Well, then you can put the wing on the belly. Watch. You can make him do anything. Yeah.
How did you make this sound?
I practiced. I heard him do it, and it's just whoo, 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 whoo. But when you hold your hands in front of your mouth, whoo, 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 whoo. And you know what? If you do it at night, if you live where, well, those owls are everywhere. They even live in the middle of the city. People don't know it, but there are owls in the city. And when they, right now they have their babies, and if you call them, they talk back to you. If I hear an owl in my backyard and I go outside and I call him, he answers me. And before I know it, he sits on the barn roof, and then he gets all angry when he sees that there's not another owl, but that I'm calling him. But it works, it really works. So there's your owl, guys. Now, how hard was that? Did it work? Did it work with the hands? And if they still look too much like fingers, you can maybe add another feather in between, and then it looks more like a wing. And the longer you work on this picture, even here, watch, if I put another feather layer in there, the more feathers I can put in there, the better the wing is gonna look. But I want to draw one more thing in this picture. Let's say I want to show this picture to my grandma, and I want my grandma to understand that it is an owl that hunts at night. How can I make grandma know for sure that it's nighttime, even before I color my picture? What can I draw in the background? Yeah, the moon. Okay, don't do it yet. I'm gonna draw a moon on there. And I show that picture to my grandma, and she'll say, "Oh, nice, Nick. Nice sun you painted." No, grandma, it's the moon. She's right though, it's the same shape. How can I make a shape that I can put stars in there, but still, if I want to do something with the moon, could I could put circles in the moon, but that's still a lot of work. A crescent moon. Now, sometimes kids do this. And when I say, "What is that?" they say, "That's a banana moon." And I say, "Well, it's really just a banana." Right? Have you looked at a crescent moon? This point and this point is sharp. And it's real easy to do, guys. Make the letter C. Make a C, and then start at the top and make another C on the inside. And you have a moon that has sharp points. Can you bring me my water glass? It's empty, but I need it empty. Oh, it is right here. Is that mine?
Yeah, I think so.
I want to show you guys. Sometimes kids ask me, and I like crescent moons. And if you look at my books, you can tell because I put lots of crescent moons in my pictures. And a kid asked me once, he said, "Well, how come you can make such a good, nice circle?" Well, I have a tool for that, a special tool that I can put my paint in, and I can go and then I paint around it, and it's a perfect circle. And the kid says, "Well, I don't have that tool, and it's too expensive." So, well, you have a place in your house that you have perfect circles in.
Where is the face of the moon?
What's this? Here's another one, a little smaller. Does anybody have those things in their house? Cups, plates, dishes? You can make a moon that big, perfect circle. But if you want to make a crescent moon, you put it on the paper, you only trace, uh-oh, there's still some water in there. You only trace half of it. And then you move it over just a little bit, and you do it again. And you made a perfect circle. Oh, I forgot! It's the bottom of your V. I forgot. That's right, there's his beak. Now it looks really tiny, but it can open that wide. It's all feathers around there, but he can open that thing wide up. Pretty easy, huh? Do we have time for another one? Yeah? The nostrils? There's 2 of them in there. I'll make that beak a little bigger. If this is his beak, you can just go 2 little lines.
What's that?
Same things you have right there. Nose holes. Nostrils. That's how he breathes. A bird has a beak. That's his mouth. It's his nose. All at the same time. It is. It's his beak, it's his mouth and his nose. That I don't know how to explain that any different. But yeah, he doesn't have teeth. He never has to go to the dentist. Yeah. We should have beaks. Yeah, you want to tell them what happened to Jackson?
So some folks ask us, after we talk about Jackson, is he still living with you? We rehabilitated wildlife for 25 years. We don't do it anymore. We had Jackson, he lived with us on the farm for 13 years, and they say, they always ask us what happened to him. Well, I always start out by telling them that when we raise wild animals, we always like to raise 2 of every kind. We don't like to raise them individually because then they'll start imprinting or they bond with us, and we don't want them to think they're humans. We want them to think they're whatever they are. So if we have a fox, we always like to raise 2 or 3 foxes at the same time, and then when we're ready to go, they can go off on their own with other foxes. If we have the ducks, we try and raise ducks or geese or possums or raccoons, all in 2 or 3 or 4 at a time so they won't imprint on us, so they can go back out in the wild where they belong. But when we got Jackson, we didn't have a spare great horned owl. And so he imprinted on us, but he really loved Nick. And so whenever Nick went away, Jackson would kind of mope around, kind of, where's my Nick? I love him. When he would bring those mice into the house that we were talking about, it was during a particular time of the year when he was doing that. It was during December, January, and February, and this was the mating season for great horned owls. And he loved Nick so much that he thought Nick was his husband. And so he was catching these mice and bringing them to Nick and saying, I love you, let's start a family together. Or I love you, let's get married. And he did that because he was so confused on who he was and what he should behave like, because he was raised by people. Well, one day, Nick was gone for a couple days, and Jackson was up in his favorite tree out by the balcony, and he was in his tree like this. His wings were out like this, his head was rolled back, his eyes were rolled back, and he was panting like a dog. And I thought, uh-oh, something's wrong. Now, it had been 90-degree weather for 2 weeks, hot, dry, and I figured out that he must be just heat stress. He was just so hot, and he was panting because he was so hot. Well, about the time I figured that out, I heard Nick's van pull up in the driveway, and I ran downstairs, and I said, Nick, you got to go and talk to Jackson because he's not feeling very well. Maybe you can perk him up. So he ran upstairs, and he hooted, but Jackson didn't hoot back. And we thought, uh-oh, something's wrong, because they always hooted back and forth. But unfortunately, we had to go. This was Friday when he came home, and that very same day, we had to leave because we had another teachers' conference to go up at Higgins Lake. So we didn't want to leave him because he looked sick, but we had to go to this conference. So Nick left food for him out on a special board, and we left. We were gone for the whole weekend, came back Sunday night, and Jackson was gone. We couldn't find him anywhere. Nick looked, hooted forever and ever. He looked for a long time. 2 weeks went by. Now, we weren't surprised 100% that he was gone, because that's our job, is we want to raise them up and release them out in the wild. So we thought finally, after 13 years with us, he finally got the idea, I'm an owl, I need to go. I'm not a human, I need to go out. So we thought, okay, maybe that's okay. Well, a couple weeks go by, and still no Jackson, and still no rain. Go look around, Jackson was not around. And in that couple weeks, the rain was starting to build up, or the temperature was starting to build up, so now you get we're going to have a storm. I think it was end of May, yeah. It looked like a tornado. That same night, a tornado, heavy winds, was so bad that it knocked down trees. We got up in the morning, the trees were all knocked down. We were out all day cutting up trees, bushes, branches, limbs, everything. We were cleaning things out. Yeah, one whole pine tree took down 4 other trees. So we were cleaning things up, and then while we were cleaning up at the end of the day, our dog Miles went under one of these trees and found Jackson. He was all dried up like a mummy. He was all shriveled up because he'd been in that tree, up there in that tree. What we figured probably happened is that he died that same weekend that we left. He probably just old age. He was 13 years old, and that's very grandpa for great horned owls. That's very old. And so we figured he just probably died of old age, and it was lucky that our dog found him under the tree that we finally were able to figure out what happened with Jackson. So his whole life he lived on the farm, he died on the farm, and we actually buried him on the farm. So that's what happened to Jackson. But you'll be able to see him, the real Jackson, alive and flying around and bringing mice into his husband on YouTube.
Now after that happy story, oops. One more drawing? Do you have time? Okay, now I gotta get this back on. It's good. Okay. This time we're gonna do a mammal. How's that? Now for the mammal, we're gonna hold our paper sideways. Like that. Horizontal. I lost my pen. There it is. Okay, now my paper is not horizontal, and I don't have a ruler, so I'm going to make a line right about here because my paper is the wrong shape. Hopefully this is kind of straight. This is my paper, okay? So when I put something here, where is that on your paper? Point to it. Right, put it right there. If I draw something here and you draw something here, is your picture going to be the same? No. If I make a circle this big and you make a circle that big, is it going to be the same? So those are important things. Where do I put my shape and how big is it? If I make a shape this big and you make it that big, that's fine. But you got to look where is it and how big is it? This is my very first shape. Watch this. What is it? And where is it? It's on this side. Now you do it. That's good. Now I'm going to start on top of the circle and I'm going to make part of an oval. I'm going to go down to the back and come back around to the bottom. It looks like a pickle.
No, it looks like a hot dog.
A hot dog, yep. Now we're going to make the same shape as we did here, but only part of it, and it goes right here. The letter C. Now this is going to be an animal laying down. Now if you ever look at an animal laying down and you look at his leg, you might see a little bend here, a little bend there, maybe stripes on his fur, and all those things can take the shape away, but really all this is a long skinny oval, right? And that's the part we're going to draw, right here, the leg. It kind of looks like a big hot dog. Watch. 1, 2. And again, I made it simple. If you ever do a drawing and it doesn't work, it's probably because you want to do too much too quick. You're only between 6 and 10 years old, right? Or maybe 11. It's okay to make it simple. Now we do the same thing under the head. This is going to be the head right here. So there's one here, and there's one here. Everybody okay so far? Yeah? Now when I put my next shape on, you know what this is going to be. Could it be a giraffe? No, why not? Right, there's no neck on him. But look what I'm going to do. What could that be? A cow? Hang on, you'll see. 2 eyes, okay? One here. Now you can make an eye like this, or you can just go like that. They're all good. Now when you look at his nose, a cat's nose, then the first part is a rectangle, and it comes from the corner of the eye, and then under that part is the real nose part. What is that shape like on a cat? A triangle, point facing down. Does anybody know how to make a cursive W? Well, look, it goes right here. 1, 2. And oh, it's not quite cursive. No, it's only a W. I got corrected. And that's a very good place to put his whiskers. And then all you have to do is put another half circle right there, and your cat has a face. Now watch. It all depends what kind of nose, no, not nose, tail I put on him. If I gave him a real short, stubby little tail here, and I put long hairs at the tips of his ears, I could be a bobcat or a lynx. If I gave him a nice fluffy tail and I colored him black and white, and I painted him sleeping on top of the TV, it's my cat at home. The old TV. The new TV is only that thick. He's not sleeping on that one anymore. What happens if I put a tail like this on him, and I put stripes all over him? What is that? A tiger. What if I made spots all over him? Jaguar, puma, panther. What happens if I put a plume on his tail? Boy or a girl? Girl, because the boy has a mane. You can make that by putting big triangles all the way around his head. But you don't have to make it a lion. You can make it a tiger, a lion, a jaguar, I said a tiger already, a bobcat, a lynx, any cat you want it to be. Now, little details in there, like the paws. Look how much better those hot dogs look already. You can put hair in his mane. You can put nostrils in his nose. Again, there they are again, those nose holes. The longer you work on him, the better he is going to be. Put him in the grass so he doesn't look like he's floating in the sky. Oh, once you're going to draw the sky, why not put big clouds in there? If you can think of it, you can draw it in there. Now what you should do, when you come home with this drawing and you think, oh, I'm not saying that this is a bad owl, this is a really good owl, but you look at your picture and you might say, oh, my ear tufts are too big or too little. Don't fix this one. How long did it take to draw this? Do you remember? A couple of minutes, right? It went very fast. What you have to do is look at your picture really close, the lion and the owl, and say, what can I do better? And instead of erasing it and correcting it, get a clean piece of paper and draw the owl again. And then you have picture number 1 and picture number 2. And when you do that, what will you see? That picture number 2 is getting better. And if you do it again, look at that picture real good and say, what can I do better this time? Oh, his tail is no good. I'm going to make a whole different tail than the other one. If you do it 5 times, guys, your drawing is going to look better than my drawing. Guaranteed. And then you color him. Do we still have more time, or is it...
It's probably a good time to wrap up unless you've got...
Oh, we can draw all night. We can go till noon. No, not noon, midnight. Oh, there might be some questions. They got to be real quiet for the questions because I'm an old guy. I can't hear so good anymore. You.
It's okay if I draw like a cat of fire?
Yeah. Is it, you ask me if it's okay? Yeah. When you do a drawing, you know who the boss is? You. You are the boss. Whatever you want to draw, you can draw. And that's the nice thing about drawing. You can do anything you want to do in your drawing. You can even paint him purple. Some people will say, you can't make a purple lion. And then you say, yes, I can. Watch me. And you do it. That's the nice thing about being an artist. You can do whatever you want. So whatever you want to do to your cat, you can do. Perfectly fine. Any more questions? No? No questions? Who wants to be an artist? And you don't have any questions?
No.
You're just shy.
Maybe.
Oh, here they are.
Can we paint it here or in the house?
I would do it at home because they don't have paint here. I don't think so. No, but if you have paint at home, oh, and I know a real good way of getting paint. You know what I did when I was little? My dad didn't buy me paint because remember we were poor. But my grandmother, if she came over, I made sure that I was drawing something. And my grandmother would come up and say, oh, that's really nice. And I said, no. She said, well, why not? I said, well, I want to make it in color and I'd only have a pencil. Guess what Grandma would bring next time she came over? She brought color pencils, she brought crayons, she brought paint. She brought brushes. All I had to do was make a painting for her every once in a while. It's a really good way to get some nice materials. Mm-hmm. There's 100 different kind of pencils. And when you start, if you like to work in pencil, you have to try to get a soft one, a hard one, a black one. There's all different pencils. You go to the store and you buy one of each and you try which one works for you the best. And that's the one you want to stick with for a while. I work in pen and ink. I do a lot of, every day I do a pen and ink drawing in a journal that I have. And it took me about 5 years to find the perfect pens that I like the best. And now that's all I buy is those pens, those exact same pens. I got used to them, I like them. I know exactly what they can or cannot do. That's a good way to do it, yeah. How do you become an artist? You be stubborn. Yeah, because most people are going to say, you can't make a living. I have to tell you guys, I grew up in the Netherlands, a different country, a long time ago. My 3rd grade teacher was so mad at me because I did a drawing of her, which was not the best drawing. It made her look pretty bad, I have to say that, but she was so angry. I had put my hands on the table and she smacked me with a ruler. And she said, if you keep drawing, you're going to end up in jail. Well, she was wrong. And she's long gone now, but I'd love to send her one of my books if she was still alive. But that's what people, they all think that you cannot make a living as an artist. Yeah, but I'm doing it, aren't I? Well, when you grow up, you have to work, right? What would you rather do? Something that you don't like to do or your hobby? Getting paid for your hobby. Think about it. Yeah. And that's what I did. So if you have a hobby, that's what you should try to make your work when you grow up. That's the best way to go. It doesn't have to be drawing, but anything that you like to do. And for me, it was drawing. And I did it and did it. And I did it over and over and over. I drew every day. I painted every day. I went to art school. And now I'm working on kids' books. But this is something I wanted to do since I was 11 years old. I wanted to be an illustrator for books, for kids' books. And it didn't happen until I was 48 years old or so, when I did my first book. But it worked, and now I'm doing it. That's all I do now. And draw with kids. I like that too. Yeah, did that answer your question? Yeah? And date your work. Seriously, if you draw a lot, put the date on it, because you will not remember how old you were when you did that. And if the date is on there, you can figure it out. I would have never known I drew my sister, but that I was between 5 and 6, but the date was in the book. I didn't even remember that drawing. Now I don't date it anymore. Now it doesn't matter anymore, but when you're little, it does. Well, thank you guys.